Welcome to On Campus with CITI program, the podcast where we explore the complexities of the campus experience with higher education experts and researchers. I'm your host, Ed Butch, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. Before we get started, I want to quickly note that this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not designed to provide legal advice or guidance. In addition, the views expressed in this podcast are solely those of our guests. Welcome to On Campus. As we continue this season's theme of the Engaged University, today's episode revolves around undergraduate research. And for this episode, I'm also happy to welcome my colleague and host of CITI Program's On Research podcast, Alexa McClellan. Thanks for joining me, Alexa.
Hi, Ed. Thanks so much for having me on today's episode. So I'm the Associate Director of Research Foundations at CITI program, where I work on developing educational content focused on areas like human subjects research, animal care and use, research ethics, and conflicts of interest. As you mentioned, I also host On Research, one of CITI program's other podcasts, where I get to talk with experts about some of the real-world challenges and questions that come up in the research space. If that sounds interesting, I'd love for today's listeners to check it out. And I think we can include a link in this episode's notes to that podcast.
We definitely will include that. Thanks so much for that quick introduction, and we'll get into today's episode. Today's guest is Dr. Lisa Piazza, who serves as the Executive Director for the Office of Undergraduate Research and Creative Endeavor at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. Welcome to the pod, Dr. Piazza.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Of course, wonderful. So before we really kind of jump into the questions and begin, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your career, as I'm also very intrigued by the creative endeavor part in your title as well.
Sure. So I am a first generation college student. And so I pretty much stumbled into my academic trajectory and career. I pretty much flunked out of community college the first time around and then kind of grew up and came back. And when I did return to school, I just loved every minute of it, had really deep engagement with all of my professors, and those community college professors were really the ones to help me to get to college finally, right? And so I did my first 2 years at a community college, and those professors and mentors were so important to everything that sort of happened in my career after. I mean, they were willing to stay after class and help me. I just had a wonderful experience there. So after I finished my first 2 years, I transferred to a large research institution in Tampa, Florida, and I'm from Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
And so, just explored some different routes and majors, and then landed on art history. Fell in love with art history, did really well. I mean, as an undergrad, I was taking graduate seminars and loved every minute of it. And of course, as a first generation college student, I knew nothing about grad school or the process for kind of moving forward in my academic career. And again, I had phenomenal faculty mentors that helped me along the way and said, you're graduate school material. And so I had 3 really phenomenal faculty members that guided me through the process and helped me apply for all these programs. And ultimately, I got into UNC Chapel Hill and studied art history there, and really thought that that was going to be my path, my academic path, and potentially my career path. And when I got there, I had a full ride TA-ship and was really lucky to have that. And I just loved so much working with the students. That was my favorite part. And so after I completed my master's degree, I kind of took some time to think about my next steps. And my initial plan was to go on and get a PhD, right, in art history. And I stopped, went back home, and just took some time to think it over, and actually got a part-time job at the school where I did my undergrad. And that was a part-time job in the grad school, just kind of learning all the back end sort of, administrative end of higher ed, and absolutely loved it. Again, there I had outstanding mentors who said, we have a, higher ed leadership PhD program here, and I think you should apply. And so that's how everything started to come together with the career, that I'm in now. I did that. And so that took, about 5 years to complete. Loved every minute of it. I mean, it was a great program, and you learned everything from, leadership, teaching and learning. I mean, I got a really good experience. I had a phenomenal advisor for my PhD. And at that time, I was working full time.
Yeah.
After the couple of years of working in the grad school temporarily, I actually got a position to help sort of reimagine the Office for Undergraduate Research. And I stayed there for 6 years while I completed my PhD and just learned a lot, worked with really great folks. I had a lot of leeway to kind of create programming and all kinds of, events and workshops for students and faculty. And so I got just a tremendous education during that period. And then in terms of work and career, I mean, it was phenomenal because everything that I was studying, right, I was able to kind of implement hands-on in my day-to-day job. So, that job was everything from uh, working on conferences. So we ran a big undergrad conference on campus every spring, and it was like 800 students and 100 judges. I mean, a really big event. So I
Oh,
got
yeah.
that experience, but also just program development, which was really key to what I'm doing now. So let's see, I graduated in 2017. And I love my job. I was great in my position. And my advisor was, okay, so you just went through 5 years of education to get your PhD. And so you now need to start looking for jobs. And so he was absolutely right and supported me, through the whole process. And that's how I landed at UTC just about a year later in 2018. Everything just felt right about the position. Everybody that I talked with on campus was really excited about undergrad research and very interested in, what I would bring to the office. So at UTC, the office was somewhat established in 2018 when I came, but I was brought in to basically establish, right, a formal office for undergraduate research, even down to, getting the physical office space set up.
Mm,
There was really nothing in place, right?
okay.
And for me, that was a tremendous challenge.
Yeah.
Um, and really allowed me to kind of start from scratch, right, and build from the ground up. And that's what we have done over the last few years. So that's kind of just a little bit of kind of how I got from, flunking out of community college to sitting where I am now. Um, I was really lucky. My dissertation was on art majors who completed a Paris summer program, and
Mm,
most of them were art studio majors. And I was really lucky that my dissertation project went really well. I mean, it was just phenomenal, a phenomenal study. And so, just between work experience, hands-on work experience, and the education part, I mean, I feel that I was very well prepared, right, to go into
yeah.
something like this and, kind of start something from the ground up.
Definitely. I mean, an amazing story and path that you have there. So thank you for sharing that. Definitely.
My
Lisa,
pleasure.
can you tell us a bit more about your current role and the tasks that you handle on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. So when I came on in the summer of 2018, my first task was to get the physical space up and running. And we did that, at that point in time, I had mostly students helping me, grad students and undergrads. And, our student assistants are phenomenal. No full-time staff yet. And so that's something that we work towards. But for the first year or two, we established the office. And so basically, what that meant was building every single program and initiative all the events, basically building everything from scratch. And so currently, where we are now, we have some really amazing student experiences, and I'll give you kind of a little overview of the many projects that we're involved with. We do have a work study program, which is phenomenal. It's in its fifth year, and students who have a work study award to work on campus can actually work with a faculty mentor. And so that's a year-long program. And in the fall semester, we do group seminars with the students to really get them on board. The faculty will come in and do panels and kind of, share with students their own journeys and trajectories. And that is always so amazing to sort of see the students light up, especially students who want to go on to PhD and then teach. We also have these summer programs that we work really closely with the Study Abroad office to develop and to host. And so this year we have two students doing a research internship at the University of Sheffield in the UK, and that's about an 8-week program. And they do hands-on internship, and then there's a research component to that. And actually, we just spoke with them last week as a little Zoom check-in, and they don't want to come back. They're doing amazing work, really having a great time, and traveling, and it's a really good program. We also partner with the College of Business to run a research internship in Vietnam. And so the dean of the College of Business will travel over to Vietnam with the students and get everybody, started and go and visit the internships, the jobs. Really phenomenal program. We usually accept about 4 or 6 students a year for that one. Again, we had a conversation with them last week, and they don't want to come back. They have 2 more weeks, and they're having a phenomenal time. I mean, the job experience alone sounds phenomenal. And then what they will do at the end is write a comparative analysis. And, all of that involves the research component. They're working with one of the research librarians, and they have really amazing projects. And I'm really excited to see how all that comes together. We also have a summer learning institute. And so this is something that came out of COVID when everything kind of shut down for COVID. I was like, what, students were still wanting to connect and talk and engage. And we were so thankful for that, that I basically built an online 6-week program, which I facilitated through Canvas, our learning management tool. And it's just an opportunity for students, when they don't have the stresses of the academic year, to kind of learn about the process, right? What does it involve? How do you get involved? How do you prepare to have really great conversations with prospective mentors? And that's a 6-week program. We now have a weekly meeting that we do with this particular group. And so students will do activities in Canvas over, the 6-week period, and then we meet every Wednesday to discuss different aspects of the research process. We do an undergrad researcher panel, which was phenomenal. We had about 6 students come in and talk with students about their own journeys. It was phenomenal. Next week is actually the last week of the program, and we'll have grad students come in and sort of give everybody get everybody excited, right, about the next step in their academic journey, which for many of these students will be graduate school. So lots of programming. We also run 2 conferences. So we have a fall conference that this year will be scheduled in October, but basically that conference is a virtual conference. We have a lot of summer programs. We have several REU programs on campus. And so obviously those students aren't able to come to an in-person conference, but we run this virtual conference, which is really nice. And then in conjunction with that, we do student pitches. So 3M thesis competition will be held for grad students, and then an elevator pitch competition for the undergrads. And so that's a collaboration with the UTC grad school. And then our little office runs our huge spring research conference, and that happens every April. And we just have a wide variety of presenters for that. More and more high schoolers are now presenting their research. It's so inspiring to see them, come in and just with total confidence talk about their projects. We had somewhere around 700 presenters this year. Um, Undergrad students, faculty, graduate students, community, members of the community will come in and present. And that's a really great opportunity just to sort of tell the story of research at UTC. Um, and then to sort of have maybe prospective students come in as well. We had several students and parents stop by this year. And so it's just a really good way to showcase all of the different research and creative activity that's happening on campus. And then, of course, we do workshops. We have what we call the Getting Started in Undergrad Research workshop, really hands-on, just to help students understand the process and how to get involved. And the fact that, it's rather easy, right? It's not something that is mysterious or something that is only, for a certain segment of the population. Our sort of mission is to help all students know about this opportunity and to also help them if they have the slightest interest in doing this, really have success and get there and support them along the way, right? I think for most students, and that was sort of my issue as well as an undergrad. You just don't really have that confidence until you go out there and do it. And so a lot of, what we do with students is just help them for those conversations, right? And so we do a lot, but we've got, more new programs kind of in the pipeline now that we're working on. So we try to sort of do as much as we can in terms of engagement and just being out there, and letting students and faculty know that we are there for them to support them in any way, that they need that support.
That's such a comprehensive program. Thank you so much for explaining it to us and letting us know what your office does.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
lots of great stuff going on there. That's for sure. I just have a quick question though, in terms of, it seems to me anyway to be a very interesting niche area to get into,
Yeah.
specifically focusing on undergraduate research. So what really sparked that interest? Was it that first job that you had, or what really got you into this area?
Yeah. So I would say, as an undergrad student, I was introduced to undergrad research, right? So I did a really cool project in special collections in the library and just working
Mhm.
with, these medieval manuscripts. And it was the best thing because it was connected to a seminar class. And so the whole class was, getting ready for this exhibit that we were going to do at the end of the semester. And for me, that experience really ignited everything, right? And so I understood sort of the connection between what I was doing with the research, which was gaining these skills that I would definitely need for grad school, and then that connection to the coursework. And for me, I kind of understood right away, oh, those things, that's a really nice combination rather than just, getting A's and everything. That's
Right.
great, but it's just not enough. And so that's
Yes.
kind of what really sparked it. Of course, when I got into the work, um, in that first job, right, then there was the opportunity to expand on some ideas that I had and really try to showcase for students. And that's something that we're always working on is the
Hmm.
messaging and how to get students involved so that they can say, this is actually something that I can do. Undergraduate research traditionally has been sort of focused on STEM, right? Students in
Hmm.
the lab doing that kind of work. And what I tried to do at my previous institution and here is really show that undergrad research, creative endeavor happens in every discipline, right? It might look really different, in art history versus biology, but research is really happening everywhere. That's really why I wanted to get involved with the Business in Vietnam program,
Mhm.
to show what research looks like in business. And, it's all about research in terms of business and business projects.
Great, thank you.
Lisa, you've talked about impact a little bit,
Mhm.
but can you talk a bit more about what it is about research that really engages students,
Yeah.
especially early on in their college experience?
Yeah, and that's a really important point. Again, traditionally, this type of experience was really reserved for, junior, senior level students. And we've have
Mhm.
found, over years of research and trying things out, right? That you really have to engage students from day one. And even if that is just, engagement about the process and what it looks like and building community through that engagement, that is sort of, where we are now and where I want to be through this work that we do. Just talking with students, what we do with incoming students and first year students is just really keep them engaged. Come to a workshop. Let's talk about, what this might look like for you. Really, really important to start that engagement early. And the way that we market undergrad research now, right, much more now, is this connection to the workforce, this connection to,
Mm.
if you do this at any point in your undergrad career, you are actually going to be able to sell a really strong set of skills to a med school, grad school, a future employer, right? So making that really strong connection, that doing undergraduate research is really going to help you tell that story of what you did as an undergrad, what you were able to contribute, and the fact that you can move a business forward, right? If it's a employment sort of situation, or be really competitive for grad school. So that's how we frame um, getting involved in undergrad research.
So you mentioned kind of getting that messaging out there, the marketing, and one of the things that I really saw when I was working on campuses was that a lot of times research opportunities, especially undergraduate research opportunities, are often kind of given to those or really promoted to those that are high achievers or in honors
Yeah.
programs and things like that, right? So from an accessibility standpoint, how do we really ensure that those opportunities are accessible to all students?
Yeah. So the work study program that I talked about earlier, that's a really good example
Yeah.
of getting students engaged kind of wherever they are. So this particular program is we do a special invitation to students who hold these awards. And these are students who are general population students. Some, it's their very first semester, first
Mhm.
year in college. um, the all demographics, right? What we try to do is we try to be as welcoming as possible to the general population, and just sharing student stories about how they got involved with undergraduate research goes a very long way to getting students to again think about the opportunity to perhaps do this. So what we do over the course of the academic year is we will do these class visits, right? And I'll bring students who are doing undergrad research. And what we find is when, students talk to other students about their experiences and they share their stories, we're getting students to come back and talk with us, set up consultations to talk about how they can get involved. One of the Sheffield students, that's exactly what happened. We went to um, one of her classes to talk about getting involved with research. And, a lot of students in the class were like, I didn't even know about this, right? I didn't know it was an opportunity. And I certainly didn't realize that I could do this. So we had a couple of students actually out of that one class that took the next step, right? Once they understood that this was a service and, a support mechanism for any student, regardless of your discipline, your year of study, your background, where you're coming from. It is really an opportunity that's open to all students. There's a little bit of a strategy to be successful and get in there and, have great conversations with faculty so that they will bring you in. And that's what we try to do with students through our workshops and consultations.
Stay tuned for part 2 of our conversation with Dr. Lisa Piazza as we continue to delve into the topic of undergraduate research. I invite all of our listeners to visit citiprogram.org to learn more about our courses and webinars on research, ethics, compliance, and higher education. I look forward to bringing you more expert guests to discuss what's happening on campus. Special thanks to our line producer, Evelyn Fornell. Production and distribution support provided by Raymond Longray and Megan Stewart.